Shalom. What does it mean to be a slave? What does it mean to be a slave? Contrary to popular belief, slavery is still a thing. It still happens to this very day. Pretty much everybody involved in this system, in this country, is a slave. It's just that we have like a state of tiered slavery here. You know, you have people who are slaves at various tiers. But we're all slaves to the concept of massive, overreaching corporations, institutions, and of course, government that controls you, tells you what to do, tells you what to think, wants to go even further, wants to even have the ability to tell you what to eat, who to believe and who not to believe. They want that absolute control. I mean, we've all been reduced to mere numbers. Your identity is only something of your own belief, your own delusions. The government doesn't acknowledge your identity. It just acknowledges your number. That's all you are. You are a number that through your vital years, you're able to contribute to the functioning of this machine, this country. You can contribute, as they say. So as long as you can contribute, you have value, you have worth. Once your days of contribution end, either due to sickness, injury, old age, that value and worth is lost. You go from being an asset to a burden. When it comes to old age, they have a disposal process for you. They have your legal guardians, they have your next of kin throw you away into old folks' homes. See, that's where they can get rid of you without it being considered murder. Old people don't last very long in old folk homes, and that's the whole point. It's a disposal facility. It's a place to get rid of something. And it's needed for this system that we exist in, because we can't have the old people be a burden on the young. Because hell, the young gotta contribute. The young gotta get out there and pull the levers, turn the gears, be a cog in the great machine. They ain't got no time to sit at home and take care of the old folk. And then the young reproduce, and their offspring are molded by the education system to be good contributors when they come of age, and the process repeats itself. So no matter how virile you may be now, no matter how strong you may think yourselves to be right now, 20, 30, 40 years, you will be old. And you will be disposed of by your own blood. That's what this system is designed to do. That is the caveat, if you will, of living underneath big governments ruled by mortals, not gods incarnate, people, just like anyone else, though they may be a bit more delusional than the rest of us. A bit more psychopathic, a bit more sociopathic. But they still bleed. They still stink. They still rot and decay, just like everyone else. That's what we're dealing with. Are you a slave? Yes, you are. It's not a question. It's simply an observation. Yes, we are all slaves until this system is done, until it's gone. Because it cannot exist unless you are a slave to it. See, the thing about being a slave is that you also have to be highly complacent. It takes a certain type of mentality, a certain type of psychology to be a slave. This is where the beatings and the all the different kind of stuff to try to get people to accept their enslavement. This is what it's meant to do to you psychologically. Make you accept it. Put you in a state of complacency. By creating a scenario where if you do rage against your masters, you'll be in a far worse situation. So those that defy are made examples out of. They're brutalized, tortured in the eyes of everyone else, so that the rest know that, hey, be happy that you're complacent. Be happy that you're not being tortured like those people who rage against the machine. It could be worse, basically, is what they're trying to say. But the psychology that's involved in that complacency is one that doesn't have to be reinforced via physical harm, chemical alterations, the ongoing conspiracy about fluoride in the drinking water. Well, when it comes to the biochemistry of the brain, the neurotransmitter called serotonin is responsible for that, the ability to feel content about things. And it just so happens that fluoride, the kind that they put in drinking water, I believe it's sodium fluoride, just so happens to have a peculiar effect on the brain where it can either stop the breakdown of serotonin or mimic it in the brain. As a matter of fact, I believe the world's very first antidepressant drug, Prozac, is basically either a derivative of sodium fluoride. It kind of functions in the very same manner. So, since the neurotransmitter serotonin is responsible for feelings of contentedness, the theory was to increase the levels of that in everyone's minds, thus making them more complacent, content, less willing to rage against the machine. But life is balance. So if the biochemistry of the brain is one where serotonin is responsible for you feeling content, there has to be something else that's responsible for you not feeling content. If something turns something on, there's something else that turns it off. And when it comes to what turns off the feelings of contentedness, well, that neurochemical is called norepinephrine. Yeah, norepinephrine. It's kind of a sharp little sword. You got to be careful not to cut yourself when you deal with norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is the chemical that is primary in the fight or flight psychological response. Norepinephrine, quite frankly, puts you in a state of high fear, high aggression, high fight or flight. Norepinephrine also has a tendency to make you less content, since it balances out serotonin, makes you less complacent. It can make you argumentative. But everything is not bad or good in life. Everything serves a purpose. So, what I'm getting at is this. If the powers that be saw it necessary to introduce a chemical into our food chain that would increase or mimic the effects of serotonin, thus increasing the state of complacency and contentedness within us, logic dictates that the way to reverse that is to increase the level of the neurochemical that's responsible for balancing out the effects of serotonin. Serotonin makes you content. Norepinephrine makes you malcontent. If they enslaved you with serotonin, then the keys to your freedom is norepinephrine. Now here's the thing about norepinephrine. Its production relies heavily on two elements. One, ascorbic acid, aka vitamin C. Two, the mineral copper. Now this is my personal belief here. Coming up, when it comes to copper is needed for a fair number of things. One also is the production of melatonin. Excuse me. So, when it comes to copper, the people with the highest level of skin pigmentation, skin and hair pigmentation, it would be reasonable to assume have either the highest level of copper in their body or the highest degree of copper utilization. So black people, either we retain copper more readily or we simply use it more effectively. One of the ongoing peeves that non-black races have with black people is that black people always have attitudes. Black people get mad too easy. Well, if we have higher copper levels in our body or we simply use it more effectively, well, there you go. That's why we have higher norepinephrine levels in our body. Copper is needed to make norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is formed from the neurotransmitter dopamine via a process that requires the enzyme dopamine beta hydroxylase. That enzyme requires copper to be produced. Copper is also needed to convert tyrosine into melanin via the enzyme tyrosinase. Again, another copper containing enzyme. So dark skin and norepinephrine basically go hand in hand. And when it comes to raging against the machine, when it comes to breaking the shackles of slavery, well, us black people, we're practically made for it. Shalom.